All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Yellow Card Podcast episode 72. It is presented to you by none other than the Couch Guy Sports Network. Head over to couchguysports.com. Make sure you check out all the content, all the written content, videos, audio, podcasting, all that stuff that we do. And if you haven't already checked out the Couch Guy Sports Twitter page, make sure that you do, because we have a massive and major announcement out of the network as we have partnered with Ravon Sports. If you haven't checked out Ravon Sports, I recommend that you do. They have an application where we would be potentially adding some soccer on there as well. And you might see your two favorite hosts of the Yellow Card Podcast talking some soccer in there, talking some smack, talking some nonsense, and whatever else that we do here on the Yellow Card Podcast. But with that said, episode 72 is brought to you and sponsored by none other than our friends at Shocked Energy. Head over to shockedenergy.com and make sure that you use the code CGSN for 10% off if you order today. Try the green apple flavor box, the watermelon flavor box, or even better, just check out their merchandise and get 10% off of merchandise today. Get it shipped directly to your door, no matter where you live, as they ship worldwide. As well as check out exogun.com. Get yourself taken care of, get yourself a massage at a moment's notice without having to even leave your house. With that said, episode 72 starts right now. It's Diego Galvez, Chris Jones, back for another episode, another round of conversations here as the Champions League action just concluded for the week. We're going to see Europa League action tomorrow happening as well. There's some predictions happening there. We got Premier League to talk about as well, because things are starting to warm up as the last 12 matches of the season start to come by. And honestly, it's just a hot stove overall in the world of soccer right now. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Chris Jones, who's going to give us a quick update on how we're doing in the Premier League. And with first and foremost, Jones, how you doing, sir?
What's going on? Doing good. Things are good.
So we had action today. Yeah, we had some action today going on. We had a little bit of action happen on last week. So with that said, why don't you just give us an update? See where we're at today.
Well, I want to give a big middle finger to Ajax at the moment, because they're the reason why I didn't go 4-0 this week. So,
oh God. Here we go.
So obviously, I went 3-1 this week. Diego went 2-2. So
okay, that's better than
Diego and I both had Chelsea beating Lille. I'll give Diego a little bit extra credit, as he had Chelsea winning 2-0. I had them winning 3-0. They ended up winning 2-0.
Ooh. Okay.
Villarreal and Juventus ended in a 1-1 draw. I had that directly on the nose. Diego had Villarreal 2-1 on the victory. Atletico Madrid and Manchester United, both of us. Diego, round of applause for both of us here, because we both called the 1-1 draw, and that's exactly what we got today. Round of applause for both of us here. So we take that, and then Ajax and Benfica coming back to get the 2-2 draw. I had Ajax win 2-0. You had Ajax win 3-1. So right now, standings for the season, I'm 59-45. I believe that's 56.7%. Diego, you're still sitting 500, baby. 52-52.
Oh,
gotta love it. But let's dive in a little bit. So these second legs of Champions League will take place starting March 8th with the first four games that we saw. So why don't we just go over these four games that we had from yesterday and today? Chelsea and Lille. I mean, this one I think we can just brush upon real quick, because we saw this coming. Lille, coming off of a horrendous group, finishing where they finished, you knew that they were going to get outmatched in this game. That's exactly what we saw from start to finish. Villarreal and Juventus. This was an interesting one, because Juventus scored literally the first minute of the game. And the entire way I sat there and I was watching this game, and I sat there and I said to myself, as I'm looking at Diego's 2-1 Villarreal, I go, this is going to happen. Villarreal is going to score 2 goals and they're going to win. Villarreal scores the 1 goal, but they had opportunities to score both, score another one. So I think for Juventus, it's good to get away with a draw because now you're going back to Turin. It's a little bit more ideal for you, especially at home. Villarreal plays a lot better at home than they do on the road. So that's I think that's an overall W for Juventus.
Sure. I mean, so looking at this slate yesterday between LASK, Lau, and Chelsea, for LASK, this is a tough one because while they've done well in their domestic league, going up against a team that's so well developed like Chelsea is right now, it's a nightmare. Unless you're a top tier team like Ajax, Bayern Munich, Manchester City, or Real Madrid, it's really hard to predict that Chelsea will slow down. But even then, though, I will applaud LASK in their efforts to actually kind of maintain possession to a certain pace, considering that in the overall aspect of things, the possession was almost even. Chelsea had it for a little bit more at 51% versus 49%, but in the overall aspect of things, pass accuracy was there. LASK was the more organized team as they committed less fouls and whatnot. There were no offsides in this match, which was a surprise considering both teams were heavily attacking. However, for LASK, their main thing here is they gotta take advantage of the opportunities that are given to them, and the fact that Chelsea gave away 6 corner opportunities, that should have capitalized for at least one goal in there, and they really should have. They have a team where their roster is tall enough to be able to capitalize on this. There's creativity as well. I mean, you got Renato Sanchez there for creativity that you shouldn't really need much than that. So overall, I'm a little bit disappointed that LASK didn't even get at least one goal in there. I will applaud their efforts to maintain this game within range, but just now going on the away leg, this is gonna be tough to overcome. So that's my take on Chelsea versus LASK. Villarreal versus Juventus, I will say this is surprising to me. I expected far more out of Juventus, to be honest with you. Just because their tactics are so far more organized than the desperate type of game that Villarreal tends to play at times, especially when things aren't going in their favor. For Juventus to have gotten ahead 1-0 within 1 minute, that should have immediately hit a red alert for Villarreal, and desperation should have kicked in, and it didn't. And Juventus didn't also take any advantage of kind of driving that desperation mode to settle into Villarreal, so that they would create far more fouls, far more corners, far more yellow and red card opportunities here, far more offsides. Instead, Villarreal was kind of a little bit more disciplined, and instead of going for that, they maintained possession of the ball for a respectable amount of time. So on Juventus' part, it's kind of silly that they didn't go into the mind games and play mind games with Villarreal. But altogether, that was a great leg right there, 1-1 draw. Villarreal had plenty of opportunities to make this 2-1. But with that said, I mean, it is Champions League. Sometimes you kind of see these things happen.
No, for sure. So then we move into the 2 games that happened today. We had both draws, 1-1 Atletico Madrid, Manchester United. I think this was a game. When we saw this originally, we knew that you and I both saw that this was going to be a 1-1 draw the first way. The one thing is you and I were talking about it, and you were saying how United was lucky to have the game 1-1, and Ragnick with his late minute substitutions is been key for them lately. They held possession 64% of this game. I think they did a great job. They just didn't execute fantastically in the first half at all. Then come the second half, they had a little bit more legs underneath them, and I think they played a solid second half. And I think going back to Manchester United, I think tied 1-1 is a big boost of confidence for them moving forward.
All
What do you
right.
think?
I watched the whole game, and I gotta be honest with you. The only reason we had the possession of the ball for far longer than Atletico did was because that ball played almost 80% of the time in the backfield for United. You can't continue to do this. This is something that the professor himself, Ralph Rangnick, said in his first ever media attendance that he made when taking over the team. You can't continue to make back passes when your deciding factor is your goalie. The last person that should be touching the ball is the goalie because he's the worst with foot control when it comes to the ball. And I agree with that wholeheartedly. With that said, I do think that Rangnick's substitutions came in at a reasonable timing. I just wish that it didn't require as many substitutions to finally get a result of a drivable play for things to finally open up. In addition to that, I think for United, on the first half, they were playing like they were still asleep. There was nobody driving the bus. Nobody. If you look at the highlights of the first half, there's a good 20 to 25-minute gap where you don't even see any of the coaches giving instructions to United team players for them to have good drives, to have attacking opportunities, to create something in the midfield. So for me in that aspect, United lost a lot of ground there. This game could have ended 2-1, especially with the amount of possession that United had, especially with the ball. When you threaten their defense, it's clear that the Atletico's defense is not 100% what it used to be. So there's room to create chaos, and especially with the formation that Diego Simeone came out. I mean, you should have created chaos. He basically opened up the backfield for you and said, "I'm gonna go ahead and give you a little teaser there. I'm gonna give you three people to deal with you in the backfield, but in my center, I'm gonna have 5 people. I'm gonna have 2 attackers." While Rangnick's formation was good there. He came back with a good formation, almost like a 4-3-3 format. There was no false nine. There was no creativity in the midfield. There was no Cristiano Ronaldo opening out the defense to create that chaos that he can create. A lot of factors lack there. And on all honesty, one player that's heavily concerning to me right now is Marcus Rashford. He is nowhere near the condition that he once was. That is heavily concerning, and frankly, I wouldn't even be starting him. It's just a waste. Somebody like Anthony Elanga that's bringing big results and turned out to be the hero of this match today. He should be getting the nod. Somebody else could be, Jesse Lingard as well. He's been phenomenal off the bench for United. It's just we're wasting our chances coming off the bench, but at the same time, when Rangnick made a substitution for the past 5 games, every single one of his substitutions has worked. Against Leeds United going into the Premier League, the 2 substitutions that he made are the 2 substitutions that gave the result that United desperately needed. It was Fred and Elanga, and Fred and Elanga scored the 2 last goals of the match. So kudos to Rangnick, but honestly, I agree. Actually, I don't know if anybody watched the post-match interview between Thierry Henry, Gallagher, and Rebecca Lowe, but I agree with a lot of what Thierry Henry said, and I'm not a big Henry fan. I'm just not a big Arsenal fan overall. But I agree with what he said, and it struck a chord with me. It's United over the past 10 years has gone through 5 different management changes. David Moyes, Louis van Gaal, Jose Mourinho, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and now Ralph Rangnick. At what point does the team realize that it is no longer a technicality issue? It's a player's issue. It's players that are way too comfortable in their own zone, and don't realize that they are the major problem here. I mean, David Moyes, extremely successful at West Ham right now. Probably their most historically successful coach in the past 20 years for West Ham. Louis van Gaal, a genius in football. I mean, if you look at the Netherlands soccer team, the guy has created a mastermind of a soccer team. Jose Mourinho, a special one. He doesn't just get the special one nod just because, he sucks at what he does. The guy has been successful. He has been he's been able to lift plenty of trophies, probably more trophies than anybody else in history. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, a very personable and organized coach that managed to bring the identity of Manchester United back to this locker room, and they still turned their back on him. Ralf Rangnick, somebody who is extremely feared by probably two of the most lethal coaches in the world right now. That's Jurgen Klopp and Thomas Tuchel. What else can you give to this team in terms of management until they finally realize that it's not management's fault? That's a player's issue. They kind of have to clean some of this locker room and activities that you have and kind of burn it all together and start it from scratch. I agree with Henry there. It was a great comment. I don't tend to agree with much of what he says because I think he's a hater of a pundit. But in that aspect, I think he nailed it.
I mean, the United issues, and this is exactly what happens every year, is they go through this rough stretch in the Premier League where things don't go their way and people are talking about replacing their managing, and nothing has to do with the team. Like, they brought in Cristiano Ronaldo thinking he was going to solve all the problems that they had at striker. It's not how it works.
No.
There's in the summertime, United is going to be very much so active. They're going to need guys like Jadon Sancho to step up more. They're going to need Marcus Rashford, like you said, to be conditioned better because he has not looked great. You know who's looked great, surprisingly, in these past couple matches? And yet you're gonna hate me because you know exactly what I'm talking about.
I know. I can't.
And he's one of the guys who went off the team.
I can't even deny it because I want him off. I want him off. But now that his contract is due, and you're thinking of contract extensions, like, how do you not give this guy a contract?
I just think this team is more so focused on surviving the Premier League this season. I think all their eggs are in the Champions League basket still. I think they're really trying to win that. I think if Rangnick can win that, I think not only does that send a message for United fans for the future, but that's also a big piece for this team who, again, Diego, when's the last time this team has won any sort of trophy?
It's been forever ago. I mean,
so that's another big thing.
We had a chance too at the FA Cup and we blew it against a team that who even fucking knows a superstar out of that team? Middlesbrough? Name me one superstar out of Middlesbrough that has ever come to fruition in over 50 years.
So it's just they're focused on getting themselves a trophy, and that's going to be the best case scenario. Once they get that trophy, Manchester United is not – doesn't matter what trophy it is. Once Manchester United wins the trophy, the confidence will be back in the locker room. The boys will be feeling it, and the ownership will be like, okay, it's time to start getting this team where we need to go in the future. Not because they're not winning, because obviously we've seen over the past 4 or 5 years that not winning a trophy doesn't mean anything to management because all they're doing is replacing guys left and right for their manager. So in order for them to succeed, they have to win the Champions League. And I'm telling you, the writing is on the wall because Rangnick has come in and he has done a fantastic job with his substitution and his tactics. He just needs these players to buy in, and that's their big issue.
He shouldn't even need players to buy it, especially if players are cognizant and realistic of the fact that why would Jurgen Klopp, a multi-title winning coach, come out and basically say the whole Premier League is on notice? Why? Just to draw media? No. He doesn't need the media attention. In fact, he's one of the guys that hates media. Fucking hates media. Why would Thomas Tuchel, a rebirthed coach that has been so successful with a Chelsea, locker room that needed somebody of his caliber to guide them through whatever they were going through, come on and say, this is one of the guys I fear the most, and this is the only guy who I have a career to thank for. Why? If you are a smart player like Bruno Fernandes, Nemanja Matic, Harry Maguire, any of these guys that have leadership within the locker room, why would you question a brilliant mastermind's tactics? Just why? It's stupid. It's stupid because none of these guys have won a title with Manchester United. So what do you have to question? If anything, question you. Look at yourself in the mirror and question you. But to question the one guy that's coming in here to help you out, that's just pathetic. That's like questioning Santa Claus for bringing you the wrong gift and hoping that he accepts a refund. But that's just me. Let's carry on before I murder Manchester United, even as a fan.
I've already seen it. But in a later discussion, we are going to talk because you talk about the Premier League being on notice. The Premier League is on notice, and I will go over why in just a little bit. Before we do that, let's move over to the Europa League. So we predicted the first match day. The second match day is tomorrow from the night that we're recording. So Diego, I'm going to give you a little bit of credit here. So in the first match day, 5-3 on your end, 4-4 on mine. You had Real Betis winning, Sheriff winning, Porto, Atalanta, Sevilla. You had Real Sociedad over Leipzig. That was a draw. You had the draw between Dortmund and Rangers. Rangers won. And you had Barcelona 2-1 over Napoli, and that was a draw. I had Real Betis winning, Atalanta winning, Porto winning, Sevilla winning. I went 4-4, lost with Leipzig. I had the draw in the Sheriff Braga game. That did not happen. Barcelona 2-1, Dortmund winning comfortably, which also didn't happen. So move on. The 8 games for the Europa League. Also, don't forget, because after the Europa League, the following day on Friday, we will know what the matchups are for the round of 16. And I'm very excited because there are teams that are already in, which is Frankfurt, Leverkusen, Lyon, Monaco, Spartak Moscow, West Ham, Svennis Savida, and then Galatasaray from the Turkish league. So those 8 teams are already in. So I'm curious to see who comes out of this. And I'm curious to see what these draws look like because I may or may not have West Ham United winning the Europa League. I may have put a little bit of a wager on that, Diego. So I'm kind of hoping that things look good in their favor, but we'll have to wait and see. So let's start with the first match. Let's go Atalanta and Olympiacos. Atalanta is up in the aggregate 2-1. How do we think this plays out at Olympiacos this time around?
I'm going to let you go first because I need to pull up a couple of things in order to make my decision.
You got to make sure if Zapata's playing or not?
No, not that. I just need to pull out a couple of statistics. That's all.
Okay. I think we're going to have a 1-1 draw here. I originally had Atalanta winning 2-1, but I think Atalanta, what they're going to do is, I think they're going to play to draw. I don't think they're going to come out. I don't think they're going to be showing all their firepower. I think what they're going to do is, I think they're going to try and contain the ball, contain the possession. I think Olympiacos is going to score in like the 56th, go up 1-0. Then I think Atalanta gets one in the 85th, and that pushes them through aggregate 3-2. I think the draw 1-1 is ideal here.
All right. I'm going to go with the same score of 2-1 for Atalanta. I think this is a highly competitive match, very, very physical, but it doesn't look good for Olympiacos because if you think about it, the only time that they have progressed through this round was last 32 against Arsenal, and that was 2 years ago, 2019-2020 Cup. Other than that, in their last 14 out of 15, they've been knocked out of the stage. So it doesn't really look all that good. I don't think Duan Zapata is coming back into the helm of things for this match. But if he does, he's also going to be a sneaky factor here that they're going to have to deal with. But frankly, other than that, Atalanta showed us how capable they are of creating chances in the middle to allow us a streaky striker to take care of things. And if Olympiacos plays anything like they did against Atalanta in their first leg, this is game over for them. This really is. So I'm going with the 2-1 prediction here for Atalanta.
Okay. Next one we have, it's Lazio and Porto.
Mm-hmm.
What do you got?
Porto is up 2-1 in the aggregate. I like how Porto played against Lazio. They opened up the game quite nicely after the first 30 minutes. It's in the Stadio Olimpiaco, so that means that they're at home again, which is nice. I don't know. I'm gonna go with a 1-1 tie, but this means that Porto moves on. So a 1-1 tie here.
See, I'm in the same mindset of how I feel in the Atalanta Olympiacos game. I think Porto is going to play for the draw because they're already up. They're on the road. They're just going to try and do their best to contain Lazio off the scoreboard as much as they can. And I think they move on as well. I like the 1-1 draw here again. All right. So Dynamo Zagreb and Sevilla. Sevilla up 3-1 in the aggregate.
It's game over for Dynamo Zagreb. I think at this point, Sevilla wins it 2-0. But it's done and over with for Zagreb.
I love it because I literally have written. I do it all the time. I write it down before we record because I want to see how many times you pick the same scores as I do. Sevilla 2-0. I think for sure here. I don't give Dynamo Zagreb any credit here. This Sevilla team is just they're too tough, and I don't think Dynamo Zagreb has enough to get the job done.
I agree. Yeah.
All right. Real Sociedad and RB Leipzig 2-2 in the aggregate.
Okay. All right. So I think it's do or die for Sociedad because they've been wanting to have this season be one of their best seasons that they've had in a very, very long time. With that said, I like how Leipzig played against them. And I like that it's at home for Leipzig. But I think if Real Sociedad can manage to play the mind games for these guys, Real Sociedad can move on. I think this game comes down to actually penalties. We're going to see a 1-1 draw at full time, and Real Sociedad moves on through penalties.
I believe it's at Real Sociedad.
Oh, is it at Real Sociedad?
Yes.
Oh, then all right. Let me scratch that.
Sorry.
2-1, 2-1 victory for Real Sociedad here.
Okay, because I was sitting there and I was like, they just played at Leipzig, didn't they? Like I had to question myself for a second.
No, I appreciate you pointing that out. Oh, good.
That was a convincing argument by you. I think it's gonna be 2-1 score, but I think the other way, like you said, I think Leipzig played fantastic against them in that first meeting, and I think we get a little bit more of the same here. Give me Leipzig 2-1.
I like it.
All right, next one, Napoli and Barcelona at Napoli, 1-1 in the aggregate. Barcelona desperately needs this here. I'll just start off. I just think they get the job done. Aubameyang is going to score both goals here. I think they win 2-0.
I like it. You went with a ballsy pick there. I wouldn't have gone that. With this game being at Napoli, man, it's not looking easy for Barcelona.
It's definitely not easy, but I just think this team is going to be able to cause enough problems where you look at it and you go, oh, shit, they're really going to win this. And that's what we're going to get.
I hope you're right because it's Barcelona and you hate to see a mega force like them, be basically so done and dealt with so easily. But I'm actually siding towards Napoli on this one. I'm going to go 2-1.
Okay. Braga and Sheriff. Sheriff up 2-0 in the aggregate.
I'm sticking with Sheriff on this one. I think they pull through, and they win this one. They win this one 1-0.
See, I think Sheriff is going to be so focused on trying to make it to the next round that they're going to go super defensive heavy against Braga. I think Braga is going to win the game 1-0, but Sheriff's going to move on to the aggregate.
Okay, I like it.
Rangers and Dortmund. Rangers up 4-2 in the aggregate. Rangers put up 4 on the road at Dortmund. Wild.
Yeah, this one is wild to see. I do think Dortmund is in the brink of destruction, unfortunately. The way that they played against Rangers, that was alarming. With Rangers being at home, this is a 2-1 game, and Rangers moves on.
I think Rangers just going to play for the draw.
Yeah.
Again, I think they're so far ahead. Do you think Rangers is going to win 2-1? You said correct.
Yep.
I think we're getting another 1-1 draw. I think Rangers are just going to go defensive heavy, just try not to have Dortmund score too many goals on them, and then they'll sneak one in late. When they're currently up 1 in the aggregate, they'll sneak one up late to go up 2. I think they win the aggregate 5-3. I think it's a 1-1 draw here.
I like
Last one, Real Betis and Zenit. Real Betis up 3-2. This time it's at Real Betis. I think Real Betis again wins this game. I think they win 2-1.
I agree with you there. 2-1 for Real Betis as well.
All right, so that does it for Europa League talk. Those are predictions. Again, make sure you check out those games. It's going to be fantastic to watch tomorrow. I know I'm going to get a haircut during the 12 o'clock slate, so I'm going to love life. Sitting there getting my haircut watching these games, especially with one of them being Lazio and Porto.
Oh, man.
All right, so let's move on. Final thing we touch upon, EPL.
Yeah, we got to talk about the Premier League because this thing is a hot stove.
Earlier in the show, I said that the Premier League has been put on notice, and it officially is because my boys, the Reds, 3 points back of Manchester City. They're officially 3 points back of Manchester City after the 6-0 thumping that they gave Leeds United today at Anfield, which was a fantastic feat. Their goal differential, I believe, is 50. They've scored 70 goals to 20 that they've given up. They're now sitting at 18-6-2. Man City is 23-3 after the Tottenham loss that I believe I called on the podcast. I think it was 1-0 I called, but Tottenham nonetheless beat Manchester City. And then what does Tottenham do today in their match? They blow it. And boy, did they lose to Burnley. It was such a bad game for them. The EPL is on notice. It is no longer Manchester City's to lose, I think. I think City, they're focused on the Champions League because they desperately need to win. And I realistically think Liverpool has a chance now to win the English Premier League with where they're at right now.
Yeah, I mean, this is wild because if you look at the top 5, right now that top 5 can change at any given notice because there is 12 matches to be played and all sorts of scenarios could happen here. Manchester City and Liverpool are only, Manchester City's only ahead of Liverpool by 3 points, and Liverpool has a lot going on in their favor. They've won all 5 of their last five matches, which is unbelievable, while City has gone 1-3-1 in their last 5 matches. Then you go to the battle of third place. Chelsea's only ahead of United by 4 points. 4 points. And their match that they need to make up, it's a match that they are known to either bottle it or just tie it. So that means that if they bottle it, still 4 points. But if they tie it, it's only 5 points. So technically, United is still very much in the race to be top 3 this year. Then you look at West Ham. West Ham is only 4 points behind Manchester United. But then there's the sneaky factor of Arsenal, Wolves, and Tottenham, who are basically 3 to 4 matches away from being caught up to date on match, having played 26 matches through the season. With that said, that's 12 points on the line. That whole top 5 could change at any given notice. So this is insanity. This is absolute insanity at this point. I love the chaos. And honestly, Leicester City's still very much alive too. They have 3 matches to play. That's 9 points, and that could bring them up to middle of the table, 6th, 7th place. So this is wild, man. Absolutely wild.
It's crazy to see because the beginning of the year, we knew that Liverpool would be in the top 4. You and I both didn't think that they would have a realistic chance of winning because of how good City was. And at least myself, I thought Chelsea would have brought it more in the Premier League than they have as of late. So, mistake on me. But Liverpool, it's just the way they're going right now. They won their last 6 in the Premier League. They haven't lost a game in the Premier League since, oh, goodness. I'm like scrolling back now. Since December 28th. And that was the 1-0 loss at Leicester. They haven't lost a game since, to be completely honest with you. They've just been wiping through competition. They have the EFL Cup final against Chelsea this weekend, Sunday, February 27th, 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Also, coming up, they have the 5th round of the FA Cup, which we'll touch upon in a moment as well. I know it wasn't on the show notes, but I just realized that is also next week. So we got to kind of touch upon that real quick. But City's EPL schedule. Everton at home, they're a tough draw. I know it hasn't looked like it, but that's a tough draw for them. Then they play in the FA Cup. Then they're at home against United, which is a big game for United. United's going to come bring their A game in that one. The big one that you're going to have to watch out for is the meeting between City and Liverpool on April 10th. Mm-hmm. That right there, in my honest opinion, is going to be the match that decides who is going to win the English Premier League this year.
Yeah, I think it's April 10, right?
Yep.
Say United's sneaky good, right? And it's a situation where you first, second, and third place, it's only a difference of about 5 points in total. So Liverpool and City are still in first and second. They only have 2-point difference. And Manchester City's only 3 points behind Liverpool and can make it or break it. What if this season ends up basically the same exact way in which Manchester City's survival season ended, where United took care of things, but a last-minute goal changed everything?
Yeah. Listen, anything is possible. We still have 11 match days left. We still have plenty of matches left. But don't get me wrong, United has a tough stretch coming up. The whole month of March, they play 4 extremely tough games. They have City, they have Tottenham, they have their second leg of the Champions League against Atletico Madrid, and then they have to play Liverpool. That's a tough 4-game stretch right there alone in that month. So I think that's key. If they can come away with points there, we're good. Especially if you guys can beat City at Etihad. Not only is that big for a Liverpool fan like myself, but that's big for United to get that confidence moving forward.
I'll say this: even a tie at Etihad will define United's season, because United's technically alive. They still have a lot to be able to do. And frankly, I don't know if there's anybody else that I would want at the helm of things right now that can be a closer than, somebody like Ralph Rangnick.
Yeah, I mean, listen, there's so many good games coming up in the Premier League. And, this is the time of year where you want to watch these games. So we have to take that into perspective as well. So the EPL is going to be great for the next 3 to 4 months. So with that being said, let's move on. Let's talk FA Cup. So the FA Cup, the 5th round, starts Tuesday, March 1st, ends the last match, I believe, is Monday the 7th. So there's 8 games. In these 8 games, so far you have Peterborough and Man City City's going to win that one.
Mm-hmm.
Palace and Stoke City. Crystal Palace.
Mm-hmm.
Middlesbrough and Tottenham. Luton Town and Chelsea. Southampton and West Ham, which could be an interesting one.
Yeah.
Liverpool and Norwich City. Everton and Bournemouth, and Nottingham Forest and Huddersfield. So out of those games, which one kind of sticks out to you?
Let me see. I need to look at this again real quick.
So I'll start. I think Southampton and West Ham is going to be the best game on the schedule.
I fucking hate you.
Well, I mean, like, I think both of us can agree here. When you look at all these matchups, I think City takes care of Peterborough, Palace takes care of Stoke City, Tottenham takes care of Middlesbrough, Chelsea against Luton Town, Liverpool against Norwich, Everton should easily against Bournemouth. Nottingham Forest, I think I like more than Huddersfield in that matchup. Other than that, like, what other matchup here can you honestly say it could go either way?
You know what?
Go different. Be different. I don't know.
I am going to go different because that match between Liverpool and Norwich City that we saw in the Premier League, we know Norwich has nothing to lose at this point. And I've said this so many times repeatedly, and it's always worked out in my favor. There is nothing scarier to anybody that has nothing to lose than that person that has lost it all. And Norwich City has already lost it all. They're already in relegation. There's really not a lot that they can do to keep their survival there. Who's not to say that they can bring it all or nothing here in the FA Cup and keep their chances alive for a possible trophy? So I'm gonna go with Norwich City here being a potential threat to Liverpool. I do think Middlesbrough is going to be a problem to Tottenham. They were a problem to United, and frankly, United played well. They played really well. The only problem that happened is Anthony Elanga was put in a situation where he shouldn't have been put. That's on the team. That's not on the coach. That's not on anybody else but the team themselves, who decided what order people wanted to kick in. And throwing Elanga into the fire like that was probably the stupidest mistake the team made. So I'm gonna say Middlesbrough could be a problem. I wouldn't be surprised if Nottingham Forest is a problem to Huddersfield. They've kind of been in the ins and outs of things, and they could be a problem. So those are my matches to watch. I do think Crystal Palace will take care of Stoke City, though. They just took care of Watford like never before, and
yeah.
I think Patrick Vieira has done a good job at reinventing the identity at Crystal Palace.
Also, don't forget Nottingham Forest convincingly beat Leicester City 4-1.
Yeah, exactly.
In the FA Cup. So that's another thing to add on top of it. All right, man. Any final thoughts?
All I know, man. All I know, man, is that just when you thought that the Premier League was done and over with and that we had a champion, one thing that we learn in soccer, the game isn't over until the final whistle is blown. Anything can happen at the last second.
This is very true. Also, the last thing I'm going to say is, Diego, we didn't get to touch upon this because our episode was jam-packed, but it's back, baby. The MLS is back this weekend.
Oh, yes,
Saturday,
sir.
February
Yes,
26th. Portland hosting New England, 7:30 on Saturday. If you have nothing to do yourself a favor. That could potentially be the MLS Cup final this year.
Yeah, very well could be.
The MLS is back, and I'm going to start consistently putting out some MLS stuff. So
let's go. Love it. I love it. With that said, episode 72 wraps up here. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Like we said, check out CouchGuysSports.com for your daily content, whether it's basketball, baseball, football, college hoops, March Madness, whatever it is. Check out Couch Guys Sports. Make sure to check out all the content on the website, all the podcasts and all that stuff. Be sure to follow us on Twitter. We're on Twitter at Podcast Card. And make sure to check out Shocked Energy and Exagon. Until next episode, see you guys soon.